Alright, so let's start with your problem. Over here is 1 over b squared c plus b over c squared. So you have to find the least common denominator just like you did before. Give me one quick second. Alright, sorry about that. So we have to find our least common denominator just like before. So I'm looking down at these two bottom parts. And you'll notice that over here, let me get a blue pen for this. Actually, here's a blue highlighter. Alright, this will work. So over here, you'll notice that we have b squared c, and over here we have c squared. So clearly on this side, I'm missing one of the c's. So I have c squared over here. I don't have it over here. I have only one c. So I must need a c squared, right? So my least common denominator has to be the most, c squared. And then if we look at the b's, we have b squared over here, but no b's over here. That must mean that we need a b squared. All right. So our next step is to make these look like that. Okay. So basically, let's start with the first side. 1 over b squared c. How do I make this bottom part look like that? Okay. So if I look here, I have b squared, I have b squared. They're the same, so I don't need to play with it. That's done. Let's take a look at c. Here I have c, but here I have c squared. That must mean that I have to multiply this by something to get c squared. C times what equals c squared? That answer is going to be c. So what you have to do is you have to multiply by c. But you can't just multiply by c because that's going to change your problem. What you have to do is you have to multiply by something over itself. Okay? So your question is, what is missing down here? In this case, I was missing a c. So you have to multiply the whole thing by c over c. Because anything over itself is 1. So like 100 over 100 is 1, x over x is 1, and infinity over infinity is 1. So c over c is equal to 1. It's as if we're not even changing the problem at all. Alright, so let's work with this left side. What are we going to get as our answer for the whole? So we just have to multiply right across. So what is 1 times c? We're just going to get c on top. And then b squared c times c is going to give us b squared c squared. And that is our goal, by the way. If you get b squared c squared on the bottom, that's your goal. That's what we're aiming for. That's what we want. Okay, so this was the left side of the equation. Let's take a look at the right side now. All right, so let's shift over. Here we have b over c squared. So b over c squared. Again, just like in the last problem, let's take a look. What are we missing exactly from here compared to here? Okay, so we have two areas, here and here, and we need to make this look like that. So I have c squared over here. I already have c squared up there. So what's left over? There's this b squared that I don't have. That means that I need to multiply this whole thing by b squared. So let's multiply it by b squared. But again, if we multiply it by just b squared, that's going to change the problem, right? So we have to multiply it by some version of 1, or b squared over itself. Go ahead and multiply this out. So what is b times b squared? You'll end up with b cubed. And then what is c squared times b squared? And now you can write this as c squared b squared, but that's backwards. I like mine in alphabetical order, so I'm going to write it like this, just because I can. Alright, so now you'll notice that for both problems, we have the same exact denominator. So for the left side, I have b squared c squared. For the right side, I also have b squared c squared. Alright, and that was our goal. We wanted them to be the same. So I'm just going to rewrite them down here, our brand new problem, that looks just like this. Alright, so it's going to be whatever over whatever plus. So you just take down the sign that's still there. Whatever over whatever. In your mastery test, they're all going to be plus. On your next mastery test, they're all probably going to be minus or something like that. So for now, we'll just be dealing with plus signs. Alright, so let's take our two things. Let's take our left side. So what do we find out? It was c over b squared c squared. So c over b squared c squared plus, and then let's take the thing on the right, b cubed over b squared c squared. Now, because they have the same denominator, this is just like adding 1/2 plus 1/2 or something like that. You just get 2 halves because you add right across the top, right? So all you have to do is add over the top. C plus b cubed. You cannot add them because they're different letters, so we're just going to write them like that. But now all over one of our denominators. just like we did here, the 1 plus the 1 became 1 plus 1 on top over 2. You changed, so you ended up with the same denominator. Alright? So when you're doing your practice problems, if you figure out your least common denominator right here, your b squared c squared, you still have to do all this. Okay? But once you get to this point, you know your top is that, you know your top is that. All you have to do is, okay, well it's this plus that. So you can just write c plus b cubed, and then go look back like, what was my least common denominator? And just rewrite it. Okay? So you don't necessarily have to keep rewriting the bottom part like I'm doing. You can if you want to. I'm just doing it so that you see the whole process out. But really all you're doing is you're trying to figure out, what do I need to multiply by? Alright? So as soon as you figure out what you need to multiply by, go ahead and multiply. Do it for the other one. Alright? Now you have the same bottoms, and you know that this is going to be your final bottom. Like no matter what, that's going to be what you're going to get at the end of all of this. Alright, so then you just add the top. C plus b cubed, C plus b cubed. So I wrote it down, we're at the bottom, and we're good. Alright, so that is your final answer. So let me go ahead and get this on full screen just in case you need to pause it or something like that. I think that's almost just about. There we go. Alright, so now it's full screen. Feel free to pause it right here if you need to. Let me know if you need anything, and hope it helps.